Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is the 5 pillars of well-being. And I wanted today to not focus on, I've talked about the 5 pillars of well-being a lot. So, if you haven't joined before, I'll definitely walk through what those are. But today, instead of focusing on the pillars themselves, just kind of want to help you understand why it's important, right? Last time we talked about the power of small wins, and the time before that we talked about reconnecting to your why. So how do we connect all of these threads together? What does the 5 pillars of well-being have to do with small wins and reconnecting to your why? Especially your why is, I don't know, I want to have a more stable mental state. Let's say that's your why, right? How do these 5 pillars of mental well-being have to do with that? And so instead of making this mysterious or something, I'm just going to go ahead and write these into the chat. So, hi, Rebecca. Welcome. Great to have you here today. So they are meditation, eating well, and of course I don't I won't say I don't give more specifics than this, so I hope that's that's for you to define. Exercising often, sleeping enough, and hydrating. And then I'll put my 6th in here, which is being mindful of your use of addictive substances, or your addictive substances / or activities. Thanks. There. So that could be, I love that it seems like doom scrolling has evolved into, not just looking at negative things, right? I think even when my kids talk about doom scrolling now, that can be even just continuously scrolling through Instagram. I always thought doom scrolling had to do with seeing bad headlines, but no, it's just kind of like you just can't stop your scrolling, So anyway, so those are the 5 pillars of mental well-being plus the bonus 6th. So meditating often, eating well, exercising often, hydrating, and sleeping enough. And so the idea behind them, and I'll talk, if I've got the time, I'll talk a little bit about why each one of these things, how each one of these things is important, and why, pillars are kind of a big word. Why do I call it the pillars of well-being? And Rachel says meditating regularly, not necessarily often. I guess that's, yeah. Well, that's nuanced for sure. Meditate regularly, maybe having a good schedule. Anyway, so what's the reason behind it, and how does this connect with your intention of whatever your intention might be? Your why, your mental. Let's say it's mental stability. What does hydration have to do with mental stability? And so it's kind of this. Dan Harris's podcast and his book is called 10% Happier. And that really kind of sums up what this is about, is that if you can be 10% happier, then, if your happiness level is at, let's imagine that happiness is quantifiable. So if you're at 45% if you're at 45% happiness, and each day you're living life, you're getting a little bit unhappier all the time, right? So that happiness meter keeps going down, right? But if you can somehow, maybe magically or not so magically, become 10% happier and you're at the 55% happiness, each day you're becoming a little bit happier. So how do you do that? How do you find something that's going to make you just a little bit happier? So that's what these are about. So the idea of why to work on these 5 things. And again, it's not something that needs to be done immediately, something that can be done step by step. That's yesterday or 2 days ago, the power of small wins, right? We're just slowly improving these things to build that foundation of resilience. So when something happens, when difficulties come in life, we're already a little bit more equipped to handle it. If let's say your boss comes and approaches you in a not very nice way, and asking you for something, if you haven't got enough sleep the night before, the probability that you're going to snap and say something that's going to be damaging for both you and them is higher, right? And of course, this doesn't mean that you just, in all difficult situations, you just take it, right? You don't, that's certainly not what mindfulness is about. I think some people think that Zen and peacefulness means sometimes that we're getting walked all over, and by no means is that what that's about. It's about having the wisdom to know when and how to engage to maximize the positive result that you're looking for. Most of the time, getting angry and being controlled by our emotions leads to us saying things that aren't helpful for the situation. Okay? And so if we've had enough sleep, if we're hydrated, if we've been exercising often, if we have been eating well, and if we've been meditating regularly, all of those things are going to contribute to us being able to handle the full catastrophe of life and everything that life is going to throw at us. And so this is the idea that the main metaphor that I want to use today is that you can't control the storm, right? The storm outside is whatever it is. Okay, but what you can do is you can build your boat better. You can build a better boat. And the way that you do it, reinforce the hull. We're going to work on strengthening the motor and the sails and all of the things that we have to navigate the waters, right? So how we reinforce and bolster the boat is important. And so why these 5 things? Because these 5 things typically are under our umbrella of control. Is that it's things that we can do, that we don't have to worry about what's going on externally, that we have control most of the time. Maybe on a business trip you don't have control over what you're eating. Or maybe you do. What do I have control over? I don't always have control over the number of hours that I'm going to sleep. Most of the time I have control over the amount I hydrate. I think that's one of the reasons that I put hydration on here, is because it's one of those things that in almost all circumstances we have the ability to control how much we hydrate. And I love putting hydration in here because it's one of the things that I noticed when I moved to Singapore. I felt tired all the time and I couldn't figure out why. I'm like, what is it that's making me tired constantly? And and when it came down to it, is just leaving a glass of water on in my next to my living room near the kitchen. So every time I walk by, I've got that glass of water and I remember, hey, let's take a drink out of that. All right. And that helped a lot. It helped my energy level. And so, using these 5 things can be really helpful in creating the the foundation for our mental well-being. So, food is fuel for the body and the brain. Good nutrition supports mood and energy. Meditation calms the mind. Meditation helps us to stay focused and stay aware and stay present and know what's going on. Recognize. Why is, meditation strengthens that mindfulness muscle, right? So we become aware of the moment that we start becoming angry. We feel the anger in our body. We feel emotions. And with that knowledge, we become better equipped to deal with what's coming. Exercising often. Movement is medicine. Regular exercise lowers stress, boosts endorphins, improves sleep as well, right? These 5 things are all interconnected. Hydration's often overlooked, but it can cause fatigue, irritability, and brain fog. So just finding ways to take care of these small things for ourselves can be extremely helpful in bolstering our well-being. So what the 5 things, let's see, let me just, I'll write them one more time, okay? Meditating regularly, eating well, exercising often, sleeping enough, hydrating. And so, we sleep poor, arguments will escalate. With good rest and hydration and mindfulness, where we can be more patient, more emotionally balanced. So just looking at small wins, right? Is it possible for me to remember to take a few breaths to help to calm myself when I notice that crisis is about to be happening? So you can't control the size of the waves, but you can strengthen the boat. So the 5 pillars don't erase life's challenges, but they do give us the energy, the stability, the support to meet them head on as they come. So this is the idea of these things. What about taking mini breaks, right? So these are all, I'm sure I could list a lot more than 5, but these are just kind of the 5 that I feel that just taking a few small wins are going to help immensely to put us in the right direction and help us to be more ready to face life's challenges as they come. So any questions or comments before we get going in today's meditation? Yeah, and that says for me, it helps to fill a big bottle with water so I can see how much or little I drink. And that's an interesting little story too. Is that I found it was like I had a trainer who was telling me, this was like 8 years ago, like, hey, make sure you're drinking enough water. And I'm like, I'm drinking enough water. And he goes, no, measure how much water you're drinking. How many liters of water a day are you drinking? And that was interesting because to my surprise, I was drinking a lot less water than I thought I was. And that says, when I do meditate more regularly, it helps me to take more mini breaks. So I see it's related. Thanks, Annette. And I think I know what you're saying now, and I agree completely. Is that when I'm meditating often, what happens in meditation is that my mind wanders away from the thing that I'm doing, and I start thinking about all these other things, And I pause and I go, oh, wait a minute, there's my mind. It's gone off. It's thinking about something else, something that I don't necessarily, something that I'm not intending to focus on right now. Okay, let me come back. Let me come back to my breath. Let me feel the breath. And as I do that, it helps me as I encounter that difficult situation in life, because I catch myself doing something that I don't want to necessarily be doing. And that's like my mini break, right? I can pause. It gives me meditating regularly gives me access to a pause that I don't usually have. So that's that's my take on it. I'm maybe Annette, maybe it's the experience is different for Annette. Jean says, when someone else is in a dark place mentally, I would add proper hygiene. Thanks, Jean. Speaking from personal experience. Thanks. Yeah, that helps as well. Just to help keep us to keep us in our routine and feel better. And then and then I guess the final thing is when you're 10% happier, you're more equipped to deal with your situations. What happens is not only are you in a better place for yourself, but you're in a better place for others. So you cause less harm to those around you, and as you cause less harm to those around you, that improves their life, which can't help but may have them to cause less harm to people around them. And then so you see this interconnectivity ripple outwards. So as you improve yourself through something as simple as hydrating often, I mean, that's it. Is right. You're like, hey, wait a minute. How can my hydrating often has no impact on the rest of the world? And I guess I want to argue that point and say that your hydrating often actually, through that interconnectivity, makes all the difference in the rest of humanity and can make everybody happier. So let's get into our practice. So sit comfortably. Or just choose the posture that you would normally choose for your meditation practice. So what I want to do today for our meditation is just training our minds like we would in our normal meditation practice. So nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary, just meditating together. Focus on the body. Focus on the present moment experience. So just checking in now. How do you feel? So I'm kind of naturally rolling my shoulders, moving my head from side to side. So, I got out of bed not too long ago. I'm still a bit stiff. So just kind of helping through a few simple movements to encourage that stiffness to subside a little bit. So you might want to take a few deeper breaths here, stretching out the diaphragm, stretching out the abdominal wall. And check in with the feeling of the body itself. Notice the head. Just check in with the ears. Is there any tightness or tension in the ears? How about the forehead and the eyebrows? How about the area around the eyes? How about the cheeks and the nose? How about the mouth and the jaw? Sometimes we may notice our teeth clenching. So see if you can, with your lips closed, if you have the luxury of breathing through your nose today, your nose is clear enough. See if you can keep your lips closed, but your teeth slightly parted. It can help to stop that tendency we may have to clench our teeth when our teeth are together. Feeling into the neck, the throat, the upper back, the lower back, the chest, the abdomen. Just noticing what's here today. Maybe there's tension, and sometimes when we notice tension, just noticing it lets it relax. And sometimes it doesn't. That's the thing. So not wishing for things to be different. Rolling out the red carpet. Welcome things as they are. Welcome my body as it is today. Welcome my mind as it is today. Welcome my emotions as they are today. So feeling into the pelvis, the legs, the arms, the feet, the hands, the fingers, the toes, all the extremities. How's the body today? And now, let me invite you to shift your attention to observing the feeling of breathing. Often when I'm meditating, I catch myself observing the idea of breathing, right? Maybe counting my breaths or something, but noticing that I'm breathing, but not really tuning into the physical sensation. So let me invite you again to tune into the physical sensation of breath. So often people will choose a spot, maybe 2 fingers underneath their navel. For me, I usually choose above my navel because I can feel the expansion and contraction of my belly just a little bit better there. And so see if you can concentrate your attention on that point. As you breathe in, feel it expanding away from the spine. As you breathe out, feeling it gently moving back towards the spine as your breath releases. Inhaling, followed by exhaling, followed by inhaling, followed by exhaling. Observing the cycle of breath as it naturally moves the body. maybe you find your mind wandering away. You're no longer focused on that point. You're no longer observing your breath as intently as you were, say, 10 breaths ago. It's normal, it's natural, it's going to happen. It's nothing to be pushed away or to feel shameful about or to feel frustrated about. Although if you do feel shameful or frustrated, this is the opportunity to examine that feeling. Where does it show up in the body? And then, after releasing as best you can through awareness, that thought, that emotion, coming back to observing the breath at the belly. Or wherever you usually observe your breath. Are you still with the breath? Or perhaps you've wandered again. It's okay. Coming back and remembering, even if you're not using my voice, especially if you're not using my voice to come back to the breath. If you're coming back, you're recognizing on your own your mind has wandered. You come back to the breath. This is strengthening the mind. This is that bicep curl we're doing in the gym, except instead of strengthening a physical muscle, we're strengthening the brain's ability to pay attention. So, encourage yourself. Keep coming back, using your own strength as best you can, recognizing when the mind wandered. Come back to the anchor. Come back to the breath. expanding as I breathe in, contracting as I breathe out. Can be helpful for some of us to even use a few words. Could be something as simple as I'm breathing in, I arrive. Breathing out, I let go. Breathing in, I arrive. Breathing out, I let go. Congratulations, everybody, for having taken this time today to strengthen yourself and to care for yourself in this way. Now we'll close our practice with 3 rings of the bell. All right. Thanks for practicing with me today. Thanks for being here for each other. Just going to remind you of a little quote that we did last time about the power of small wins, is that after is the next during's before. So whatever work you've done here today in your meditation, it counts and it changes you. You are different, and the you that's going to show up to your next meditation is different because of the work that you've done today. So keep it up. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you, Jean. Thanks, Jennifer. My pleasure. I'm so happy to share this. And that's what we're doing here, is this series. The series that I'm working on these live events is all about making positive lifestyle shifts. So as we're trying to add positive habits, add good routines into our lives, like what are some of the things that we can do? And I like this one in particular because these are all great examples of things of small wins that you can make that are going to have a big impact in your life overall. So as long as you can, set out some small goals for yourself. Could be, drink water instead of that Coca-Cola at lunchtime. Something small that's going to help to bolster ourselves. Michelle asks, what were those words? What words in particular are you asking for? And Vicky says, thanks. That enabled me to come back to myself after a restless sleep and a hectic morning. Thanks, Vicky. Thanks so much for sharing. And I want to add in, besides those five, I mean, let's say the ones that Annette and, if you have any ideas yourself, please feel free to add those in the chat too. So Annette said small wins. Jean said, like, taking care of hygiene. Yes, thanks, Rebecca. And all beings to share in this space together. And we will do a little, as we do at the end, do a little loving kindness practice for ourselves and to everybody else. So just kind of a way to close our time together. So the key theme here that cold water showers help too. Thanks, Linda. I agree with that. I did one of those yesterday. That it can be very, very energizing. Today I had less tension in my neck, and what I think it's neck, and was easy to accept it. Whereas I recently just want to relax more. Thanks, Annette. If you don't follow me on Insight Timer, please do. That's the first thing that you can do to help out. So the key takeaway here for today is you can't change the storm outside. The weather is going to be what the weather is, but you can change the condition of your boat, and you can do a bunch of small things that can help. If the boat is leaking in 5 different places at very small leaks, just putting a little patchwork on each of those leaks is going to make a big difference. So, think of it that way. Chris asks, am I still working on the course? I am. I'm putting a couple hours, at minimum 1 hour per day into my course. The course is going to be coming out very soon. I'm finally down to editing the last couple lessons of the course, so it will be out quite shortly. So I mean, my process is I've just got to finish up the editing of the last 2. So it's one of the it's maybe not to your, maybe surprisingly, maybe not, is making sure that I'm meditating to my own meditations, meditating to the meditations that are in there, just to make sure that they feel right, they feel spacious enough for each of those lessons. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it too. And I just want to say, I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but it's the best. It's the best set of recordings. It's the best set of recordings I've ever made. It's great. And I mean, I got emotional listening to it because of, it's personal. It's personal. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll let you guys, I'll let you check it out when it comes. So it's gonna be uploading very soon, and then Insight Timer will approve it, and then you'll have access to it. Don't worry, you will know. You will be the first to know. I'll definitely be announcing it on the live events as soon as it goes live. So thanks so much. Okay, that's my cue. It's time for me to go and get kids ready for school and stuff. So let's close our practice as we do, with some well wishes to ourselves and to others. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. And may all of humanity, everyone, everywhere, may everyone be happy and peaceful. Thanks, Annette, for your donation. Thank you, Matt. It's lovely having you here today. I hope you all come back. The next topic is using meditation to support lifestyle shifts. So we'll kind of roll into that topic next time. So that will be on Tuesday, my time. It might be Monday, your time. So you can check it out on my profile. See you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.